Hey everybody, it's Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today I'm going to share with you my magical version of a witch for the 13 days of Halloween, a daily painting experience that I give to my community every year, where from October 1st to October 13th, I share a new Halloween themed painting every day. I've done this for several years now. There's something like 90 of them that I've already done, and this year, oh my goodness, the designs have been incredible. This is one of my favorite. Now I'm going to break down how you can paint this yourself at home. I'm going to explain every technique, every color, every tool, everything you need to know to be able to paint this for yourself, and you can absolutely paint this for yourself. Now, if you check the description below, there's a lot of important information. I like to put the materials I'm using in the class down there so you can see the colors I'm using, size of canvas, brushes, things like that. There's also timestamps so that you can find the chapter that you were on, because I don't expect you to sit down and like power through this in like one giant sitting. You know, sometimes I know we take little sessions. Those timestamps really help you find your place again. There's a link to what's called the TRACEABLE. You just print that out. It's free. It's for everyone. So you can just go to the website and print that out, and I will explain how to use it during this class. So if you've never done that before, don't worry. I've got that there. And the other thing is that there are links to my store and all the other important stuff, like really the social media, everything. It's all hidden down there. So now that you know that and you know what we're doing, there's nothing for you to do but get your paint, get your brushes, and come back to this easel, because we are really going to paint this together. Let's go. Oh, yeah, I forgot to tell you something important. You're going to hear a voice. That's my husband, John. He helps me bring these live shows to you by making sure the camera's pointing at all the stuff I just described. All right. So you'll be hearing him, you'll be hearing me, and now let's go. So for today's class, I'm using a 12 by 12 canvas. On my palette, I have yellow ochre, burnt sienna, Mars black, dioxazine purple. This one's dioxazine purple. This one's Mars black. Cad red, cad yellow, quinacridone magenta, phthalo blue, ultramarine blue. This one's phthalo blue. This one's ultramarine blue. In the center, I have titanium white. And right here, that's actually satin glazing liquid by Golden Artist Colors. It slows down the drying time of my paint and allows me to glaze. It just makes those techniques easier. All right. When we come back, I'm going to show you the first step of this painting. So I'm going to start out by painting the entire canvas of burnt sienna. And for me to do that, I do it in a very silly way. I squeeze directly from the tube onto my canvas and then spread it out. That's not like the official way to do it. This is literally a silly way that I get it done. Just a silly thing that I do that makes my painting fun. And it kind of makes the shorts a little bit better.
That's
now
awesome.
I'm going to take water and kind of mist it up so I can spread the paint out. And I'm going to grab my 1-inch Princeton Select Oval Mop and just spread this whole thing out everywhere. Just spreading it out. Sometimes you just spread out the paint. Just spreading it out. Just covering it with some burnt sienna. It's a great color. It's a great foundation color for this. Sometimes with acrylic, it's nice to layer to get deep, rich colors. And I'm just spreading this out.
It's a very brown.
It's a very brown painting. Spread it out. Maybe one more direction, up and down. Okay, once you have that painted on your canvas fairly smoothly, and just have a nice coat of brown, it can be a little bit streaky, but you want the canvas fully covered. You're going to want to dry this with a hair dryer or allow it to air dry completely so we can do the next step. Now, if you've never painted along with me before, how you make that work is when you go to dry your painting, either allow it to dry or dry it with a hair dryer, you're going to push pause on me and don't push play on me until your painting is dry and you're ready to go again. My other tip for you is to keep your hair dryer on the low setting. If you have, some paints are really sensitive to color shift. Not every paint, but some paints are, and heat can make that exacerbate that. So that's my little tip. Low setting on your hair dryer. All right, when we come back, we're going to come back with our canvases dry, and I'll show you what we do next. So I'm going to want to start to create a Misty Moody background in the background. I'm going to use my 1-inch Princeton Select Oval Mop. It's a very excellent brush for creating soft effects.
Right, yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and get a little of my glazing liquid on it. If you don't have this, you would just get it mildly damp, right? This would be the stage where you dip it in the water and drag off the extra water. But I'm going to use the glazing liquid. I'm going to take a little bit of my ultramarine blue and my phthalo blue and a smidge of white, and I'm going to come up here and start painting out this dark blue corner. I'm working fairly quickly. Might add a little more blue to it and come down this low corner.
To create the sea of blue.
Creating that kind of sea of blue. There's a little bit of the glow of the brown coming through. It's really nice. It creates a dark, moody effect.
I was going to say, it's so moody.
It's moody. We want to be moody today. And come down here, a little more white on there just to see the blue. I've got other colors I will be definitely working here. This is one of those paintings where quality paint does help. Because we're layering a lot of colors. I'm going to add a little brown into my mix there. Kind of come up on this little corner. Now, interestingly enough, I'm going to get my brush wet, rinse out all the color, dry it off with the towel. And before this dries, I'm going to come here and get a little white, a little of my phthalo blue, and a little bit of my cad yellow. And we're going to start to come right here.
Make the keyhole of light.
Start thinking about this little magic light that's coming through here.
Whoa.
Glazing liquid, glazing liquid.
And that glazing liquid allows that sort of wet into wet work, huh?
It really helps. It really helps. Where I've got to get that kind of wet into wet, atmospheric beginning of the drama. And again, this is just that first layer. Sometimes I use it just to blend a little bit. Then we come out into the dark and smoke it. See how it gets smoky?
The magics have come from the darknesses.
Yeah, it's just... Just begin to start to cover this up. This takes a couple of layers to get that center in, but we're just right now trying to smoke it up. And take a little bit of my yellow into my white.
Ooh, I had an accidental spooky effect.
Did you have an accidental spooky effect?
I pushed the fade to black button and it went to ooh. Spooky.
It is spooky.
See, it's a feature, not a bug.
It's a feature, not a bug. And I'm going to just very carefully kind of glazing liquid on and make sure I can blend out. Just moody. It can take a bit of a nudge. A nudge is when you're like, the paint is not really sure where it's going to go, and then you nudge it very gently into what you want it to do. So I've got soft pressure. I'm gently working areas over that I feel need a little extra attention. Just softly blending. And we're going to come over with another layer on top of this, so we will get it the whole way there. This is just very gently blending. That's what we're doing, is gently, gently blending, and it's kind of giving us this little All right, that looks pretty good. Give yourself time to get that. It really only works if the paint is wet, that the colors that you're mixing in are mixing into colors that are still wet on the canvas. If your color is drying on you too fast, you may need to do this a couple of coats a couple of times to get the paint to blend well enough, unless you have the glazing liquid, and then you should be able to do it in one and done. All right, let's dry this thoroughly. And when we come back, I'll show you what we do next. I'm going to add another layer in through here. I'm going to take a bit of my phthalo blue and my cad yellow medium and a lot of my white. A little glazing liquid just to improve the flow. We're going to come in here and make sure that we've got nice little smoke of magic coming up. You can see as we work in layers, things just get better and better and better as we go through. So a lot of times people don't enjoy acrylic painting because they feel like they can't get the blending and diffused effects that you can easily get in oils. And I say, like, acrylic painting can do all that. It's just understanding what it needs to accomplish its goal. And what you need to get your goal accomplished too. Its goal is to stick to itself. Your goal is to make beautiful art. Just kind of brushing this in as I'm getting down into my deeper pigment. I'm just like leaning into that. I think I might grab a little bit of my ultramarine and phthalo blue. I'm going to come right here and maybe blend in a little kind of bright blue darkness. Glazing liquid. Soft, curved, blended brush strokes. Lots of atmosphere. A little bit of the start of this blue down here. It's a little mood. This whole painting is a mood. It's a vibe, as they say, right?
I know. I like it.
I like it a lot, too. So I'm going to take a little bit of my phthalo blue and my cad yellow again. A little more phthalo blue. Get my white in here so I have a distinctive turquoise. And we're going to make little curved brush strokes that are diffusing out that turquoise. See how we're doing? So it's a little different than the two blues. And rinse out. Okay, because I'm going to be switching into some color. Actually, what I can do right now, there's one color I can do at this stage. So what I'm looking at is working in harmonies because we're playing oranges against purples. Take a little bit of this magenta and the ultramarine blue. Smidge of our white. Little glazing liquid. So little marks, again, same thing. This is the sort of energetic magic that's happening down low.
Ooh, I like that.
I think this is the witch painting we all really want this year. You want to make sure we're just weaving color. Weave it. I can always come right back with a little turquoise and come right in there, see?
Yeah.
And then it'll go a little different kind of purple. All right, now I'm going to want to dry everything, and when I come back, I'll show you what we do next. So now I'm going to want to put some oranges in here. I'm going to take a little bit of my cad yellow and my cad red. Make a nice bright orange. I'm going to come here and make some little marks here and there. And touch like more gently when I want to put down a little less. Can get a little more red into it. Now as I'm coming down, I'm doing an interesting thing. I'm going to get a little bit of my dioxazine purple into this. I make a very dark color. Don't want yellow, and then I want more dioxazine purple. Get a little more into that. Very dark down here. Little glows to it, but it's mostly pretty dark. Kind of blend that out. I'm going to come here and get just a smidge of my white into my purple.
The haunting has returned.
The haunting has returned.
Haunting. I've got a haunted cable.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. It haunts me. I think I find out why it's doing what it's doing, and then it's not it.
Just weaving the colors. A little bit of purple into that. So we're just trying to make these impossible colors. Oh, there it went. I see what you're saying.
It's haunting me again. I don't
It's
know
haunting you terribly.
See?
All right, well, let's call this a step, and I'll let you hunt down what's going on with that cable, and then we'll come back. So I want this canvas to be thoroughly dry and completely cool, right? Because you want your paint to be cured. If during the next point your paint isn't cured, when you press hard with the pencil, it can leave an indent into the painting that's difficult to remove. So you just want it to be dry. Once it's dry, it's perfectly fine. Now I have the traceable listed in the description below. The link's right there. You just go and you just print it out. And I printed out scale to fit is the setting that I do to have it fill the full 8.5 by 11 page. Just as a printing tip. And then on the other side of that, I have a product called Ceril paper. This is it. Ceril transfer paper. It's a really fantastic product to transfer a line drawing onto your canvas. I have it dusty side down, and I have it taped with low tack tape at 4 points. So I'm going to put this down. And if you want a video on how to do this, I have a whole video on how to do this. Whole video on how to do this. All right. Put this right here. I rub this down so it's stuck, so it's stuck, so it's stuck. And then what you do is I'm going to take a ballpoint pen and just trace over every line. That's what you do. I'm just going over every line hard. The tape is just so that the drawing won't move on you. This is a broom fit for riding.
It's ready to go.
It's ready to go. It's a riding broom. Little more room on it for, it's like, you know how you can have cars in sizes?
Yeah.
So there's like, compact car. That's sort of like the brooms in our house. But if you think whole human being and a, familiar, you need a little extra flying space.
Yeah, I would say this is definitely a sweeper.
This is the big sweeper. I also like using the ballpoint pen because I can see where I've already been. So I don't leave some big area untraced and untransferred. I like the braid.
It's very cool. And of course the hat.
Yeah, we're going to really play with the hat in a little bit later, but I just need to have sort of sense of where it is.
And you just trace it all over in that, and it's the act of pushing down on the line that actually makes the...
Yeah, it's the pressure that transfers the image. And hopefully, if you've gotten all of it, when you lift it away, you should have a transfer of the line drawing very lightly and faintly on your canvas.
Like magic.
Like magic. And like magic, we will absolutely block in the figure. So when we come back, I will show you how to do that. So now I'm going to want to take a number 6 Raphael sepia round, and I'm going to block in my figure. I'm going to dip my brush in a little bit of water, and I'll grab some burnt sienna and Mars black at first. I'm going to come here to my arm and very carefully paint this in this dark color. Sometimes I will dip in water just to make sure the paint is flowing off. One of the hardest things I think that everyone will find to paint is like hands, and that's a lot, not because hands themselves are so particularly challenging, but they're mentally challenging. Bring a little thumb around. And then I come forward with a finger. Now I'll be putting a highlight on the forward on the arm. But right now we're going to just do the shadow color because there's some real dramatic lighting on the figure. I might bring the sleeve down more. I'd have to decide. I'm going to take a little bit of my phthalo blue, ultramarine blue, and dioxazine purple. Paint a little bit of the blue dress. Just the first layer of color.
That ghost has come back.
The ghost has come back?
Yeah.
Let me know if we ever need to stop and reset.
I think that we have to. This ghost is going to require me to pull some things apart. So I don't know that I can fix this ghost right now. It may be a haunting we have to endure. But I'm gonna today here probably pull all that out and find out where he could be sneaking, because that is a haunting that I'm not fond of.
You don't love it?
Not too fond of it.
Not loving it? It's not your favorite? Just painting this in. I think I might bring the sleeve down a little bit further. Nice lines. I add just a smidge of white right here, just so it's a slightly different value so I can tell the little zones apart for later. Added just a small amount of white. It's all still fairly dark, just enough for me visually to track the difference between the back and that. I'm going to come and take a little bit of my... I'm not going to do a black candle today. I'm going to do a red candle.
Right.
Because I just... the other one creeps me out, so I'm not doing it.
Okay.
It's a red candle today. I took dioxazine purple and a little bit of cad red, and I made kind of a dark red color with it. Kind of a little hint of the candle going down there. I got a little bit of the candle in there. Little black wick. These little things are important, man. That little black wick matters. I'm going to take a little bit of my burnt sienna and Mars black. Paint the little wood handle. And a little bit of burnt umber and Mars black for hair. Just weaving that back and forth to create the braid. Take a little bit of my dioxazine purple. So sometimes I use dioxazine purple in place of black to create deep values, but where I want to have bright colors in the work. if you're enjoying painting this, I have a bunch of witch paintings.
It's true, you do.
So many.
There are a few.
From 1 hoot to 3 hoot. All the hoots of paintings. That's just difficulty ratings.
And from 1 witch to 3 witches.
From 1 witch to 3 witches. That's true. Now, while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and do a little red band. This is just that first layer of paint, and that helps us sort of see color. You know, and then we come back with highlights and lowlights and all of that. I'm going to come back into my purple. I'm going to wiggle up and down. Bring it tapering in, wiggling it up and down behind it. I may have to bring my headband forward a little bit, but that's okay. We can do that later. Just need paint on the canvas right now. Blocking in. Right. Getting to the good and proper ugly stage. Right. That's the goal. Again, burnt sienna and Mars black down here. I might increase my brush size just a little bit so that this part is easier for me to paint. So I'm going to take a 1/2 inch angle brush. I'm going to take a little bit of my Doc's purple and my Cad red. Just brushing this down. A little bit more red on the front. Now, we have lots of magic that's going to be coming up over the dress, but you still want it to go down low enough that the height of the figure is believable. Maybe a little more red on this back end as well. And that's all it takes to block in our really cute witch. And I love that she's as cute as she is.
Yeah. Because
we want adorable witches. We don't want to, you know, I know sometimes we want to paint ugly witches, but for the most part, I like to paint pretty ones. So let's dry our pretty witch, and when we come back, I'll show you how to make her actually really pretty. So I'm going to come into my red. I had my dioxazine purple in there. I'm going to get a little more red with just a hint of the purple in it. And I'm going to come up to the top of my candle with my number 6 round sepia round. I'm going to just red it up a bit. There's still a little dioxazine purple in there, but the way it layers up, it just makes it a little richer. Then I'm going to take just some pure red. And then a little bit of yellow. the top of that candle. Rinse, rinse, rinse. Rinse, rinse, rinse. I'm going to get just a smidge of white. Paint a little white flame. Just like a little paint on the toe of my brush. There we go. A little white on there. That's good. Now while I'm at it, I'm going to take a little bit of my red and come to the front of my hat a bit. Make sure that my headband bright enough. Just kind of shining there. Better line on it. I'm going to grab a little bit of my yellow. And kind of create a little bit of glow around the candle. Might need some white on my brush. Just a little bit of glow, right? We'll come back to that again a little bit later to glow it up some more, but that looks pretty darn good.
Yeah, I'd say it does.
Yeah. Now I'm going to want to come here and grab my yellow ochre. And I'm going to come on my thumb. A little yellow ochre highlight right here. A little bit at the top of the hand. See how I'm doing a little bit at the top of the hand?
I do.
Just touch it, touch it, touch it. And a little bit of yellow ochre and burnt sienna. I'm going to take a little bit of my yellow ochre and a smidge of white. Just a little bit of shading on the hand. Let's look at that overhead and see if we like that dramatic lighting. Yeah, I think with haloing that'll really, really come together.
Yeah, me too.
Sort of blended back from the candle. A little bit of a haloing there, holding the candle. That works good. Now I'm going to take a little bit of my phthalo blue and some titanium white. I'm going to Very carefully highlight. And then right there, across where the elbow bends. Elbow bends there. Maybe a little more. Just a little highlight right here. A little more white. A little more dry brushing, a little highlight right there. We're just starting to think it in, aren't we? And grab a little bit of my phthalo blue. Still just using my number 6. And right here at that upper, it's inside. A little bit up the arm. A little highlight. See how we create that space for the arm by putting the highlight right there?
Yeah, totally.
Just doing this blue so that it has a nice rich color. I'm gonna just do a little bump out there so we have a nice little hip. That's not bad. We're just painting as we go, aren't we?
Yeah, not at all.
And grab a little bit of white. Just a little bit of a haloing on that front end there. A little bit right there too. A little highlight. This is sort of like just a very bright light that's sort of haloing out and catching the figure. I like that a lot. Just gives us some drama. All right, we have more to do, but I want to dry everything so that as I'm working these small detailed areas, I'm not dragging paint forward and backwards. So let's give this a dry, come back and I'll show you what part of our figure we paint next. So let's work on our broom for a little bit. I'm going to make sure that my brush is clean and it doesn't have any hidden water drops. I'm going to grab some burnt sienna. I might put my glasses back on so I can really see what I'm doing. Kind of come up the front with just the burnt sienna, a little dry brushing. I'm going to grab a little bit of my burnt sienna. I'm going to go ahead and just brush down another layer of the broom bristles. Now I'm going to grab a little bit of my yellow ochre. Sometimes you'll see me reload because I'm like, oh my. This is not the last time we will put some yellow ochre in here, but we're just starting to paint this up. We'll start the broom bristles with these dark colors. And we'll finish them with something really truly light. Just starting to paint them in. And then I'm going to take a little bit of black here and come back, put back and create an area where we're going to have binding. Where, you know, this guy is like sort of tied, handmade broom and all that.
Tied, yep, hand-tied.
Hand-tied broom. Because, you know, magic brooms have to be handmade. There's not a good store to purchase them at. Okay. While I'm at that, I'm going to take a smidge of my brown. I'm going to come up into my hair. Start to bring down some brown. This hair we're going to have to definitely build up. And just back and forth, latticing it down. And then I'm going to take a little bit of my cad red and my cad yellow together. A little bit blended up into there. We'll be building up this red hair kind of over time, but we want to get that little braid kind of worked in as it goes there. I'm going to grab a little of my dioxazine purple and my cad red again. And make sure that the back of my hat band, still a little more red than what I just did there. Oh my goodness. Sometimes when you're looking at your palette and then you look at your canvas, colors will, because of localized color and relative color, read very differently.
Sorry for that dimming. It's going to be something that after this, that haunt and I are going to have a conversation. I think it may be removed. I may be moving to an all new system.
You've just had it, eh?
I may have had it.
That was your last straw?
Yeah, I think so.
There we go. But the hat's a little bit darker in the back than in the front. And I'm going to go ahead and get a little white and Doc's purple together. Still using my number 6 round. A lot of my number 6 round on this one.
Seems to be the tool of choice
today. Highlighting the brim a little bit. And dry brush edging in here. Well, that's too light, but I'll come back and fix that. A little bit darker, but it still has some white in it. Little highlight there. Coming along here, I'm just tapping and making little wrinkles. Making the hat seem a little wrinkly. See that?
Totally do.
Little tapping up there, a little wrinkly hat.
Yep.
And then I'm going to get some white and purple together and make a more noticeable purple, but it's still going to be kind of dark. Pulling that back here to the darkest purple. And this gives our hat just a little bit of shine. And we'll hit our hat with a little more shine later, but we're just going through things as we are. I'm going to take a little bit of my cad yellow and my cad red together. Bring that orange over. Highlight the edge there. Highlight the edge here. Pop little highlights coming down. Oh, she's looking pretty good, isn't it? Look at her come to life.
That's awesome.
She's just a coming to life here, which I completely adore. Now, to do anything else, I definitely want to dry her before I do anything so that everything will take the next layer of paint. So let's dry her, and when we come back, I'll show you what we do next on our pretty little witch. Now, to get the ethereal little effect on the skirt, I'm going to take a number 12 Princeton Select round blender, and I'm going to get a little bit of my glaze and liquid into it so it's slightly transparent. And let's grab a little of our cad red and our cad orange and begin to paint some little fairy just looking pretty good there. And then I want to start to maybe a little more red. A little bit of purple. Brushing that down, just blending that in. Just brushing it down. Added a little white to it so it just registered a little bit more as purple. Gonna rinse out. Grab a little more yellow and orange. A little more orange. Maybe a little more yellow here. Grab a little bit of my phthalo blue and titanium white. Looking pretty good. Very flowy, very magical. And now we're going to get really magical. I'm going to get a 3/8 inch Princeton Select Filbert grainer. You can use just a filbert if you don't have a grainer, but I like the grainer because it's going to give me this cool lacing effect. I'm going to grab a little bit of my glazing liquid. I'm going to come over into my yellow. I might even add some white into it. Load up on the tip. Just brush that up. Just brush that up. Isn't that beautiful there?
That really is.
I'm going to grab a little of my cad red and some glazing liquid so I have good flow off of it. A little bit brushed up with that. We're just making sure these colors are like, you know, bright and saturated and magical.
Right.
I'm going to come along with like maybe a little sheer level there. That's a kind of double layer. All right. Well, that's all having a dry. We're going to come over to our broom, get a little bit of my glazing liquid and a little bit of my white into my yellow ochre. I might even include some cad yellow into it. So it's cad yellow, yellow ochre, and a little titanium white. You could use a deerfoot stippler or a hog bristle brush if you didn't have the grainer and you wanted to get a similar effect. Deerfoot stippler or a hog bristle brush. And a little bit of black. Let's look at that overhead. Yeah, we're getting there. That's a broom that can fly.
Yeah, for sure.
When you're painting a broom, you got to think about it. You got to think about its shape. Think about its identifiers. I'm going to actually highlight back here. I just wanted to put some dark shadows back in so that my highlights would pop. Here we go. A little bit of a broom that's happening. Rinse that out. And take that highlight, which was my yellow ochre and cad yellow and titanium white. I'm going to get it on my number 6 round. Oh, you know what? I got to come up here first, and I got to be just super careful when I do it because my painting is still a little bit wet. And then very carefully, I'm going to come here and try to get this too. Just a nice little highlight on our broom. So it's got good lighting on it. Looking at this, I think I might want to add another layer of highlight. I'm going to grab a little bit of my white and yellow. Little glazing liquid. Little yellow. Maybe a little bit back here as well. There we go. Just some highlights on the dress. Okay. This is looking pretty good, right?
This is looking great.
I'm loving this. This is working for me.
Give it a dry real quick.
I think I need to touch up the hat and then give it a dry real quick. I'm going to take a little purple and then, yeah, I'm absolutely going to dry it. Just want to come on the back and just make sure that I've got, this is just purple. I'm going to tap in some little wrinkles from the back side, if you can see what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
And maybe a little bit of the darkest dark right there. And then I'm going to go ahead and get a little white. Light purple. Just a little bit of a brush, just some shading, some energy, some energetic energy. And we're going to come across here and add some little highlights, little bits of white. And a little bit of white. There we go. That's looking pretty good. Just a little bit of the highlight at the front end. Maybe right here. Just a little bit. Okay, now we definitely want to dry everything, everything, everything. All right, so I want to add some magic and some glamour to this, and I'm going to take my number 6 Raphael. I'm going to grab a little bit of yellow. I'm going to come in the middle of some of these little orange marks and make a little bit of a yellow dot in the center of them, just real quick. Little rough mark. And I'm going to very carefully come in and get a little bit of white. And in the center of some of my yellows, I'm going to add a little bit of white. And then I can come back through in the yellows and add another little spot of white. These are kind of the little distant down lows, kind of out of focus, a little back off. And now I'm going to take a little bit of my yellow, I think, and I'll make some orange. Kind of a middle way orange. And kind of flowing in a little S curve. Let me actually draw a little chalk line so you can see what I'm thinking of. See if this one will do it. Is that one leaving a little chalk mark? No, it's not. Let me see if I've got the other one. See if the other one will leave a little chalk mark. If it won't, we just have to visualize it with our mind's eye. That's where I'm thinking of going, is sweeping it up. Sweeping it up. Just coming through here and just a little bit of implied line. That's where a line is created by objects, but I haven't like specifically drawn one like when I did the chalk. This line is not implied.
Yeah, no, this is cool.
That line is definitely just there.
It's like a magical path opening up in front of her. Whoosh.
Yeah. I'm going to take a little bit of my yellow. I'm going to come in the center of these. A little bit of magic going up. A little bit of magic going up.
I think I did it.
Yeah, it's totally coming up now.
I made the magic.
We made the magic. Now we want to get a little bit of white. Get a little bit of white on the toe of our brush. Add some white to the center. Just a little bit going up.
That's really cool.
A little bit of white magic. A little bit of dusty sparkles. Little wiggles. These are just little dusty mites.
Yeah.
Little dust motes of magic. This reminds me a little bit of when I did Bubble Witch.
Oh, yeah.
Where I had the bubbles swirling out from her wand up and around her. Yeah. I really love that one. That's one of my favorite witches that I ever did. But this is up there. This is totally up there. All right. So once you get your magic where you like it, let's try everything, and when we come back, I'll tell you what you do next. So I'm going to take my number 6 Raphael Sepia, and I'm going to go ahead and grab a little bit of my fluid paint and add some glazing liquid to it to improve the flow. Sometimes you can add water, but I'm going to use glazing liquid this time, just to slow down the drying time of the paint and give me some nice paint that will just flow off my brush. Wipe this off here, and I'm going to reload on the toe of my brush. That's the tip. And I'm going to just come here and make sure we've got a little highlighting. Just the finest little tip that you can. Little highlights on the braid. It's a very, very subtle touch. If you're not good at subtle touches, skip this step if you're already happy with your braid.
Yeah, I see what you're doing there. Just little tiny bits of wow.
A little bit of reflection on the hair. And come up the little hat line here. Make sure we've got a little bit of a highlight going up the hat. A little bit of a highlight there. And then I may want to come and hit the little top of the broom here. Just to exaggerate this even more.
That's cool.
Look for any little places I might want little magic dust motes. Just check it everywhere. Maybe add a little radiant light kind of coming out. Just a little bit, a little exaggeration. I'm going to also take a little bit of my yellow orange. And interestingly enough, I'm going to come up to the top of my candle and add that little bit of glow. Just because it'll make a huge difference in how the candle looks.
That's so cool.
Now while I'm here, I'm going to take a little of my orange.
Oh, that emphasizes that so nicely.
A little bit maybe on the hand. That's an extra touch that you can do that you don't really have to do, but I put a little glow on the hand because it looks cool. Super nice. because it's cool. All right, I'm going to take a little bit of this white into my purple. And then I'm going to come here on the toe of my brush. Give it a little signature. Just in the color that I'm already using in the painting.
Fantastic.
Oh my goodness. So when we come back, I'm going to tell you what we do next. Well, that was a ton of fun, and I think a real magical journey through this wonderful scene of a witch with an official flying broom and her magic candle coming out and dusting up some magic up into the ether. I think it's just a really great 13 Days of Halloween painting. I've done a few witches for the 13 Days of Halloween. I've had a few favorites, but she's pulling into the #1 space of favorite witches that I've done, because I just think I really love how her dress and everything came out. If there was anything in today's show that you saw and you're like, this is all I need to be able to do this technique or anything, though I want to tell you there's always a way. Like, yes, the grainers and all these different brushes do make these things so much easier, but there's always a way to get a technique with the tools that you have. So don't feel pressure. But if you're just like, no, I really, really need that grainer, if you check the description below, there's a link to my store, and in it, all the materials that you saw demonstrated here in the show are available for sale in the art store. So that's something you can check out if you need it. If you don't need it, don't worry about it at all. The other thing is I would love to see your version of this painting. So hashtag the Art Sherpa, please, and share with me on social media so I can see yours. And if you're like, yeah, I don't really like sharing my art on social media, I have a closed group on Facebook. It's completely closed. It's completely curated. We approve posts. We approve people. There's no weird nonsense in it. Nobody's going to sell you cryptocurrency, or any of that stuff, because we do monitor it and check posts every day. So it's a great place to share a painting and know that you're around a crowd of people they're going to be nice, they're going to be kind, and that there's people in charge that are making sure that that's happening. So I would love to see your painting, and you can share with me in any of those places. And other than that, there's nothing for you to do but be good to yourself, and let's be good to each other. And I will see you at an easel real soon. Bye-bye.